it's a lot more than just identity work.
Mm-hmm.
It's also these realizations that I had about why it's so difficult to create true sustainable change that doesn't
Yeah.
slip back, is because identity, or who we are as the center of our own personal universe and reality,
Mm-hmm.
is self-reinforcing, meaning once we know something, like deeply know something about ourselves in our bones, we will be seeing the proof of that everywhere we go.
Mm-hmm.
And if we continue reacting to that, right, that only reinforces the identity. And then
Welcome back to Deep Roots Wellness Podcast. Today's conversation is such a gift because I'm joined by Anya Lincoln, a spiritual teacher, content creator, and the author of the book, I Am. Anya's work is all about helping people awaken, interrupt old patterns, and step into the freedom of living from love and a deeper self-awareness. In her book, I Am, she introduces a powerful method called identity work, which uncovers the hidden I Am statements that shape our reality and show us how to transform them. In our conversation, we're diving into themes of spirituality, transformation, awakening, and of course, the wisdom of her book. This is one that you will want to lean into and open your heart because Anya has such a beautiful way of making spirituality both practical and deeply inspiring. Let's get started. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, Anya Lincoln. Anya, welcome. I'm so glad you're here and thank you so much for joining me today.
thank you for having me, Jennifer.
Yeah, so let's get started with your story. How did your journey lead you to where you are today?
Oh boy. um, I was born, no. Isn't it always like that? Like when you start thinking back, like when did it start for me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You can almost think like way back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a little girl and I lived in the what was called the Soviet Union at the time,
Mm-hmm.
Russia,
Wow.
we had no religion. Everything
Mm-hmm.
was very oriented to atheism and scientific communism. But my mom would often comment that I would like see things and I would talk like I saw angels. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember any of that. When Soviet Union fell apart, my mom started going to church.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at that moment walking in, and everybody was there, was just there because they went to church. But I was so excited. I was 7, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that I found my home. I didn't stay in church. I transitioned to a different form of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
But I could say that that remembering or recognition of like, whoa, this is my path, was as early as 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
And I know I have one more little thing, kind of an interesting story to, if it's okay.
Oh, yes,
to
please.
share.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was about 11 or 12, a mom would started letting me go by myself to church. And I remember walking in and hearing somebody read something from the pulpit. And it was a story about Jesus getting lost in Jerusalem. And he was 12 years old. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm almost 12 years old. Like I was really identifying with the story. And the story said, when Mary and Joseph found him, he was teaching the teachers. And I said to myself, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Listen.
And then I forgot about it and went on to have a very difficult path forward until now. I'm actually connecting with all these wonderful people that are on the same path and, kind of doing what I thought I would do,
Isn't it incredible that the fact that you identified that and you instinctively knew that so young, that is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a book.
I do.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Okay, so fast forward 40 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not 40 years. It was, I think, around 36.
Mm-hmm.
As anybody who has been through an awakening knows, it happens in so many different ways, right? Like
Yes.
life can wake us up through different avenues. And what I did not know was going to be a really long, dark night of the soul started with really big heartbreak.
Yes.
Right? And I basically went from, for a second or moment, feeling so connected and one with the whole universe and feeling like I was back to, in my own self. My intuition was going crazy. I was opening up. My heart was like, I felt like something really big was happening. But then because I was still so wrapped up in my conditioning, so wrapped up in my inner pain and all kinds of things that I had to later, one by one, untangle. From that high place, I went into a really dark place and basically sat in my bathtub crying for like 6 years straight. It was a really long time. And meanwhile, before this happened, I actually got certified as a transformative life coach. So I was already on the path to making this work real in my life. So I've been a lifelong spiritual seeker. I have been studying different disciplines, trying to answer some pretty big questions that I had. Mostly, how do you marry enlightenment, like being enlightened, and also being an active creator of your reality with desires? So human experience and enlightenment, which also sort of translated to how do you connect to that inner peace and yet as a spiritual person become a change maker without losing that connection, right? So instead of sitting on the mountain somewhere, being Zen, being in the world, looking fear in the eye, looking suffering in the eye, and helping people. And the other question that was more burning for me was like, how do you reconcile this heartbreak, which was really personal for me? And I just took everything I knew, and I meditated and meditated and meditated. And finally, when I broke through and I started seeing certain things about oneness and where the separation actually is, like where do we kind of loop back into reaction to the world that already exists. And so that was all sort of gathering in these notebooks, just like this notebook right here. I have like so many of them. And after I did, so all of that process kind of ended, and I started coming out and feeling connected. I aligned with my partner, Will, who just appeared out of nowhere. And that's how it sometimes happens.
That's how it happens. Right? Yes.
Yeah. And a woman that I was kind of coaching, not officially, but she would come to me when I was doing substitute teaching at my daughter's school. She would say, "Hey, Anya, like, what do you think about intuition? What do you think about this?" And then she said, "You know what? You sound just like this person I know, and he lives in Virginia." Anyway, and so long story short, Will moved here. I said, I have all of this seeing, but I'm not a writer. English is my second language. You write the book. I'll tell you what to write. He rightfully refused, and I had to learn. Like you and I were speaking before recording about learning curves.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
When when you have something to deliver, when you have a message for the world,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no idea how to do it, whether you're any good, you just learn.
You just
You
learn.
learn what you need to do to get it
Mm-hmm.
out there. So that's how the book came about.
Oh, wow.
The hard part was,
Yeah.
um, for me, is getting it out clearly enough without dumbing down the message and without overcomplicating it, because those people who read the book often comment that it kind of blows their brain a little bit, like it's hard for them to
Mm-hmm.
process. The book itself is not hard, but what
Right.
I'm asking people to do, or to concepts that I'm asking them to hold in their mind, could be challenging just because we're not used to thinking that way. But so when I was writing it, I kept reading it back
Yeah.
and thinking, like, oh, like what, and and then I did something that was actually really useful, and I could share it. So I imagined myself
Mm-hmm.
as if I was sitting in the audience,
Mm.
listening to myself
Mm-hmm.
talk about a particular concept. And I thought, in what language does the version of me that wants to hear this, that wants to or wanted to understand this insight,
Yes.
what would have made sense to her? And I started
Mm.
speaking to myself exactly like I would want it said, not
Yes.
simpler and not more complicated. And that's when it started coming out very clearly. Um, there was a little bit, the only English challenge I had is I
Mm-hmm.
had these, just like I talk right now,
Mm-hmm.
huge run-on sentences.
Yeah.
And
I do that. English is my only language.
and then Will, who was prior to moving to New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
he was also coach, and he did some psychic work, but
Mm-hmm.
he also was teaching English at a high school level at a boarding school.
Oh,
So
yes.
he was my like editor. He was saying like, "Hey
I
Anya,
love
you have
that.
to break these sentences up in like smaller chunks." So that was my process, and now I do that for everything. I
Mm-hmm.
like create maybe not enough sometimes with social media like we talked about, but like
Mm-hmm.
I actually imagine like, what is it that I like, what kind of coach would I want? what what kind of presence would I like?
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself in the shoes of the client or the shoes of the
Yes.
listener, and it really helps.
What do you think the most challenging part of someone who is new to this, um, what makes it so challenging? Is it because that we're conditioned to think a certain way and like we're programmed or conditioned, our subconscious kind of runs the show and they're just you're breaking the patterns of the old way of thinking? I mean, is that
Like, what is the most challenging part of
of
transformation, or
why, yeah, why, what makes it so hard for someone to change their way of thinking or break the patterns?
I think um, the reason it's hard, at least
Hmm.
what I see in people and what I see in
Yes.
myself, is
Yes.
that the part that makes us repeat the pattern, both in our
Hmm.
thinking, right?
Hmm.
Well, it's not both in our thinking; it's always in our thinking. The part that sits in us.
Hmm.
I That's what I write about, right? Identity was formed in our consciousness as a defense mechanism against
Mm.
something really terrible happening. So
Hmm.
now, in order for us to move forward outside of the fence that identity has created, like stay within the lines, you'll be okay, right?
Yes.
In order for us to move past that, we have to take the armor off. And it is incredibly scary. And another layer of that, and this is what spiritual teachers point to when they talk about ego death.
Yes.
Is that defense mechanism doesn't present as defense mechanism. Hey, I'm your defense mechanism. I am your limiting thought. It's like who you are.
Yeah.
And today I was talking to a client, and I said, it's like those terms and conditions that for iPhone or for iTunes, right, that come up.
Yes.
There's no time to say them all out loud. We just say, click, okay, fine. I accept because I want to get to my music,
yes.
right?
Yeah, we don't read them.
No. And then it's as if that much conditioning in 1 second flashes before our eyes. Our conscious mind doesn't understand.
Yes.
All we feel is terror, like I'm going to die. If I drop this defensiveness right now, I'm going to die. It feels to us like we are defending our life.
Yep.
When we're just defending an idea of ourselves that was molded by the past.
Yes.
And I think that that's the hard part, right? It's just to get through that boundary of fear, that electric fence, and say, oh, I'm not defending the life of my body. I am just defending an identity, whether, and if I may just add that, like, with what's happening right now in the world, a good example of identity or of that kind of like defensiveness would be you or me sitting on the sofa watching a news report about some people that may not look like us, right? Or people that look like us. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And having a certain reaction inside, and being willing to allow something bad to happen to these people in our mind, right?
Yes.
Or to even kill them in our mind. Yep. That's identity. Identity was threatened. Identity said, oh, I am being threatened by the other, right? By somebody I've just put in my focus.
Yes.
And so, okay, well, that's fine. If they go away, that's okay. Or if they get hurt, that's okay. If they get bombed, it's fine. Suddenly, we have just bombed or destroyed a whole country or village because our thought about ourselves got threatened. Like we could literally be eating popcorn,
Yes. And you're right.
So that's the power of I am. And that's the power of identity, is we don't understand how much it defines and limits our thinking, because as soon as there is even a possibility for our thinking to go deeper into creativity, into openness, that defense mechanism flares up, the wall goes up, and that's it. We stay within the box.
I find it heartbreaking because more people than not can't seem to break that or come out of that or realize what really is going on, or understand that there's no real threat there. It's just our brain or our subconscious is doing what it's designed to do, which is protect us, even though there's
nothing to protect.
Yeah, nothing to protect. That's right. And so obviously people stay stuck in those patterns, and it's it can be very challenging to break that. I know, obviously. So to someone who is completely new to this and they are very defensive, or they do just see threats in any situation, or many situations rather, how do you start? How do they start? Like what advice would you give them, or how what tools, I guess?
I would say if somebody is defensive or they think that they have a difficult time beginning, I would say if they are even considering beginning, that's already a win, right?
That is true.
That's already
Yes.
that's already right there, because you
Wow.
and then just becoming more present, making the circle smaller, like what you are dealing with or what you are looking at, narrowing it down to the present moment. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little easier to handle when you say, all you have to do is handle it for the next minute, for example, or
Yeah.
right. And the way to begin is to become aware of two things. One kind of more positive, which is like, what do you want, right?
Yeah.
What kind of world do you want to create? What do you want to have love? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to have a better relationship with your teenage daughter? Like.
Got any advice there?
Yeah. I have so much advice. No.
We could share stories probably.
Yes. But so that's one thing, just to start opening your imagination up to, like, what if, right? Like, what if I could push the boundaries of my world a little bit more to actually have the kind of love and life and work, whatever, right? And the second one is to start noticing where you do something that you believe will get you a reward, but in the process you are giving up something of yourself, or you're doing something out of integrity.
Yes.
For example, with a teenage child, right? Like, you want them to be safe, but you are, and say you've told them, no, I'm going to respect your privacy here. But you get really anxious and you go and you read all their diaries.
Yeah.
Right? You just did something dishonest. For, if that's the agreement you made, right? I'm not saying that, like, how you've, so every person in different ways, not just with teenage daughters, at work, like, oh, I don't really want to marry this person, but I'll marry them because they have money.
Yeah.
That's a big one, right? Like, that's a whole life commitment.
Yes.
But it could be anything, like, I don't really like this client. I want to say no to them. But I'm going to say yes because I really need the money, or I really... Just notice where in your life there's these small or big ways where you override your natural no, or where you are saying no where you really want to say yes.
Yes.
Because that's actually where the pattern always becomes stronger and continues, is that anxiety or that discomfort that we feel that makes you reach for alcohol, for example, right? Or makes you reach for food, or makes you reach for control. Or like you're watching them and it's none of your business and nobody's asking you for advice, but you're like, I have to tell them, like,
I have been guilty of that so many times. I've really learned that about myself.
Well, how do you think I know that too? Like, very intimately from the inside out, right?
Yes.
So and then after you start noticing, then you move to the next step of actually not doing that and sitting with the discomfort. And then seeing that the discomfort is, like, first of all, you're not dying, right? Just like on the couch watching other people, everything is fine. And that's how you can begin. And then you can start making those thoughts that feed the anxiety more conscious. Why does it look so desperate and dire that you go and make your child or make your spouse or make your neighbor feel bad, right?
Yes.
Like, because it's so the way I say it's kind of actually the kindness of reality is that we, even bad things, right, we do because we have really good reasons. Like we think that something much worse, that's what it looks to us. Something much worse will happen if I don't do this bad thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If I feel this feeling, I will just disappear. So I might as well go and self-medicate. If I don't rescue this man, or I don't know,
Yes.
right? So we're motivated by something that looks noble to us, by something looks good, except it's based on some flawed assumptions.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? For example, that maybe it's not our business to save men or women, and not only that, it's impossible for us to save anybody.
Can't do it. That's right.
Because the transformation happens from the inside of each person.
Yeah.
And so once we start seeing clearly, it begins to be much easier to navigate this and to become more comfortable with the process.
I found whenever I started realizing where my triggers were and how I would react to uncomfortable feelings, and almost just that feeling inside that is so desperate. It's like it's just gonna like just kill me if I continue to feel these feelings and this pain emotionally. And I mean, it's been within the past probably 2 years that I have learned to sit with my feelings, and they're not going to kill me. And there's a reason that I'm wanting to react, and it was an unhealed part in me, and it was just a strong feeling of like abandonment or rejection. And I found that those two things were usually like, those were my big triggers. And many times I wasn't being abandoned or rejected. It's just something would happen, and I would feel it. And it was from conditioning, from childhood and all this stuff. And, but learning how to sit with those emotions and not react to it and allow yourself to feel them, process them, and release them, that was very difficult for me.
Yeah. There was a spiritual teacher and a mystic, Sydney Banks. So he created this philosophy or teaching called the Three Principles, and I actually trained in it before I took it deeper and went into identity work. But he said this thing that was really beautiful, that if people would just learn to not be afraid of their experience,
exactly,
things would be so much easier. So even without fixing anything, even without figuring out where it came from and who hurt you, and if you just realized that it's your own thinking bringing up the wave of that, or creating the wave of that feeling, you're literally creating that feeling inside of you, that memory you're recalling and filling in all of the blanks as if you were sitting in a movie theater with special effects. Right? And if you just knew that that's what was happening, and you were you could just trust that even though it feels bad, you're okay.
Yep.
And not be afraid of that, you would have done 90% of your work.
Yes.
Because then the rest is like, once you're not afraid of it, then you can look at it. And I often say that any problem can be solved if you're willing to just look at it attentively for enough time. And if most of us, those places that we actually want to heal or want to fix, like money or, like you said, abandonment or rejection, we're not really willing to sit with it long enough for something to occur because we don't want to look at it, or we don't want to experience it. But it's like being in a, it's like those people that make lots of money, I don't know, cleaning houses that are like, that where the disasters were. Like they're not afraid of the mess, right? They're like in it, and then little by little they clean it up.
Yes.
But if you come in and you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, that's the only problem, is that we are too afraid. We think like if we feel this feeling, well, number one, that we have to act on it. We don't have to act on it at all. And that if we feel it, I don't know, something's going to happen. Like it's going to consume us, or it's going to, I don't know.
I know. What do we think is going to happen, actually, if you think about it? If you really is like, what is going to happen? It's going to be okay.
Exactly.
And it's so funny. You mentioned earlier that during your dark night of the soul, you were in the bathtub. Well, the very first time that I made myself, I was going to say aloud, but no, I made myself sit and just feel the feelings, I was in the shower. So apparently a lot of transformation happens in the bathtub in the shower. I don't know what it is about it, but
yeah. When I was at the coach training at Super Coach Academy, we talked about showers a lot, because we talked about insights occurring to people in showers. But there's actually a real explanation for that. Like lots of people have insights on walks and in showers, because in order for insight, which is a new thought, right? Something that isn't present in your Rolodex of thoughts, right? To come in, your mind has to slow down enough and temporarily let go its fixation on whatever is like active for it. And so in the shower, the water is running over you, and your mind is focused on the sensations of the body. And it's almost like you're, if you're imagining holding on to something really tightly with your hands, and you just release the attention and something can come in. Another metaphor, actually Michael Neal, who was the main author and teacher, creator of Super Coach Academy, he often talked about the fan, that when our mind is spinning really, really fast, it's almost impossible for anything to come between the blades, right?
Yes.
But when the mind slows down, whether you are dancing, walking, so doing something rhythmic, and your mind slows down, just the blades of the fan are slowing down, and something new can come in between without being.
I love that. Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that as well. Yeah. So, if you know that about your mind and about anybody's mind, like your child's mind, for example, or your spouse's mind, like if they come in and say you're annoyed with them or you're upset with them and they're just all worked up, and you know that what you really need is for them to have an insight, to see something, you will not be talking to them, at them. You would probably go and say, let me rub your neck, or you want a cup of tea? Hey, why don't we go get an ice cream cone? You got to get the blades to slow down.
Yes.
And they'll see what they need to see for themselves.
Yes.
And then like with the writing the book, Will laughs at me because he says, Anya, I don't know anybody who has more insights a day than you do. Because I call him every time I had another insight.
Love that.
But it's because I've actually mastered that part of my mind where I could just at will slow it down. And I go and do something, and sure enough, like I don't know how to explain this concept, and I already know where to go, and I don't have to worry about, I know it's coming.
You know it's coming.
And,
Yep.
and it just pops in. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then I write it down.
Isn't it fascinating? I've learned
Mm-hmm.
that too. And used to, if I needed an answer or a solution to something or an insight, I would panic. And my mind would just like constantly, very much like you just explained, it was just going like 90 miles an hour. And of course, nothing would come because it can't. And now I just simply know that the solution is going to come or the insight is going to come. I'm going to get the answer. I just need to do my part and allow it to come in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing, and I'm sure this happens to you and to people who are listening to you, but I
Mm-hmm.
just love when I ask a question at night, I
Mm-hmm.
go to sleep, and I wake up and I know exactly what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It just pops in. And
Yeah.
sometimes it pops in like in that time where your brain is barely waking up, uh,
Yes.
and it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and you see it.
Mm-hmm.
That this have, like that's my favorite, because it just feels so cool.
It does. It
So nice.
does. Yes. I have started recently. I will wake up around 3 or 3:30 and I will just get the message to go meditate and take your notebook. And I do. And I just, as I'm meditating, I write whatever comes to my mind. And it's like a download. And it's so, I don't know, it's just an incredible feeling. The first time that it happened, I was just like in awe. And I came back and I read it, and it was many things that had been on my mind that I needed a solution to, or it's just fascinating how that happens. So what about okay, identity work? Can you explain like what is that?
So identity work is
Mm-hmm.
designed to tease out that layer of unconsciously held thoughts that we mistake for who we are,
Mm-hmm.
that don't really become apparent except in us reacting to the world. Like
Mm.
what we're triggered by, what we're reacting by, what we think has the power in our world.
Yes.
And so identity work is a process of teasing out that what I call a hungry ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so if um, many different spiritual teachers talk about this part differently.
Mm-hmm.
Eckhart Tolle, for example, talks about the pain body, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sort of like that, right? Like the ego and the pain body married together. That's identity.
Mm-hmm.
and and uh, and so the book, it's a lot more than just identity work. It's
Mm-hmm.
also these realizations that I had about why it's so difficult to create true sustainable change that doesn't
Yeah.
slip back, is because identity, or who we are as the center of our own personal universe and reality,
Mm-hmm.
is self-reinforcing, meaning once we know something, like deeply know something about ourselves in our bones,
Yeah.
we will be seeing the proof of that everywhere we go.
Mm-hmm.
And if we continue reacting to that, right, that only reinforces the identity, and then you create more relationships that
Mm-hmm.
reinforce that, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have children and they inherit your identity, and it's like just
Yes.
it's like a virus. It replicates like a virus, basically, right?
Yes. I've never
And
thought of it that way, but you're right. Mm-hmm.
it's so identity work is designed to separate that part of you that is the observer, or that true awareness of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
from the costume of thoughts that you've put on, that terms and conditions, right, that we don't understand that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you enter into your life that is still running on the old tracks, or you enter into a political arena or a social justice thing that you're doing, whatever you're doing in your world, that you are able to tap into a thinking, into a place where creative, unconditioned thinking is going to come from, that isn't going to be based on your identity's reaction to what's happening.
Yeah.
If I often talk about like revolutions, because I'm from Russia, and we had revolutions, but you also can look at America right now, and how many times even countries said, okay, we're having this really big revolution, and we will never go back to that old thing. We will never be like those people. And then you're doing exactly the same thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. And so, and in the country of my origin right now, what's happening is like, we had like this temporary reprieve, and suddenly we're right back at, in like Stalin times, it's really terrible. But why does that happen? Because the change, when it's initiated, it comes from a good place, but it comes from a reactive place. So while while we say, okay, these things need to change, somewhere on a deep level, people on both sides buy into a common shared misunderstanding, unconsciousness, foundational beliefs that make them react in a certain way, and they think from that place, they think only the other side is the problem, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so then we're going to put these people down, we're going to elevate these people, and these people are going to create a better world, and these people start becoming like those people. It becomes a repeat of what has been already created, because the consciousness didn't change. And and in my book, I guide people to take ownership of their world, meaning get out of that push and pull and blame. And even though you find yourself as part of the pattern, in psychology, we would say, well, you are anxiously attached, and you are whatever attached, everybody has their roles. You're a narcissist, and I'm a codependent, such and such, right? In identity work, we take ownership of the shared consciousness.
Yep.
So while I'm not taking responsibility for your role, like if you do bad things, I'm not saying I am to blame for your behavior, but we dig deeper than the roles. We find, and it usually happens even by itself, when you do identity work on an issue, you find that the core beliefs that you hold about reality are actually shared between everybody on all sides. And by releasing that in you, you become the change you wish to see. Yes. So you could be the first person that could be standing in a crowd and saying, okay, this is insane, guys. I'm going to be the first one that is going to show a different path, a different way. And I personally believe that that is how, if we can change anything as a society or as human beings, that is how we have to do it. And it always begins with one person. It cannot be like, if I think the change has to begin with you, I'm done.
Yeah. I was stuck in that mentality for a while, and then I realized it's got to start with me, and I have to take radical responsibility for my part in this, and realize where my patterns are, and work on healing that, because that is the only thing that I can change.
Yeah.
Any of us.
It's a very brave and a very scary thing to do, to drop, say, this, I'm thinking about like suffering, for example. to drop suffering first, to drop judgment first, to drop trying to be the right, right first, to be the first. And I always go global because I really think that if we see this, we can create big changes in the world.
Yes.
But if you look at what people are doing everywhere right now, it is all reactive, right? It's all reactive. And if you personally or in a big way decide to take that independent stance, it's very scary because there's no guarantees, there's no support systems, there's no way you're going to know if anybody's going to stay, if you're going to be abandoned, kicked out of the village. But time and time again, that connection to oneness totally proves itself because what I call a third path opens up. It's like you start seeing a possibility that was never available to you before you stepped into this place without any guarantees. And that's kind of like, I also talk about this in the book. It's a big part of the journey of dropping your identity, because identity is not just a thought. It's like a nervous system. Like it connects you to so many different people, agreements, money, resources, support. Everything is moving through this environment created by this agreement between everybody. And one thing that people are surprised by, and that's why it's so hard to change, is because no matter how much we complain about the suffering or this or that, bad things, we actually get something from the bad thing too. And we don't want to let go of it. It's not that we don't want to let go of the suffering or the pain. We don't want to let go of the benefit, right? Of
Yes.
that, whatever it is.
Yes.
And because once you decide to truly, like, I'm ready for something new, I'm ready to go all in, you're not just going to lose the pain and the judgment and the anxiety. You're going to also lose the way you used to get approval. All these people that are feeding your ego, all these people that are playing the old game with you, you're going to lose conditional friends, or, you're going to lose some stuff. And the good news, of course, is that that's a very temporary thing.
Yep.
I often equate it to like a fishing net that all of these things get tangled up in, right? And it gets pulled down to the bottom of the sea. But what is actually true and real and aligned for you never really leaves your life. It just comes back in a more purified form. Like now it's yours without conditions.
So we don't want to let go of like the bad stuff. Would you say because primarily fear? Just the fear of letting go and losing what's comfortable, because that's part of our pattern?
What's comfortable, or what also makes us feel, or how we learned to navigate this world.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in the book, I give an example of a country. Again, I'm talking about countries, but it works like that with, you can translate it to right? That is very good at war. They have a strong military complex. They've invested so much money. That's another thing. Sometimes you invest so much into your defense mechanisms. You invest resources, time. You invest, a lot into making it work the old way. And suddenly you see like, oh, you mean we can have life without war? But I have like, we're all making billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
We've spent so much time training these people. I like the fact that we are number one, or that
Yeah.
everybody's scared of us because we believe that fear is the form of control.
Mm-hmm.
See, like
Yep.
if now I know, like what I know about energy, and I'm, I don't want people calling me out, say, like, go talk to Kim Jong-un or whatever from the position of your, like vibe, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I actually do know that the true power isn't in manipulation and fear. The true power is in something else. And it's demonstrated to me every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But so coming back to the example of why we don't want to lose bad things, suppose we are asked to give up the idea of war, right? But
Yeah.
we've invested so much into being good at war.
Mm.
And we also believe that war is what makes us safe. Oh, then that's the big problem. That's the identity collapse. Because in order for us to give up and say and create the kind of peace we actually say we want,
Right.
we're gonna have to give up not just the war. We're gonna have to give up trusting in the fact that fear and control is what's gonna get us there. We're gonna have to start trusting that there's, a deeper power, connection to our
Yeah.
creativity. We might actually, God forbid, start actually taking care of our neighbors, or something,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Instead of
Like,
trying to bomb them.
so,
Yes.
but the point is, once we start digging into
Mm-hmm.
whatever pattern or pain we want to give up, whether it's addiction, whether it's marriage to the wrong person, whether it's a pattern that's repeating in our parenting, we have to challenge things we do not want to challenge, because
Yeah.
we actually found a way to make them work. We found a way to know who we are, like conditionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because of that, it would be like, I may have not said this clearly, our identity has learned how to be what it is based on the role that we play,
Yes.
right? And I'll give you, I have a really good personal example, not personal, but like from a human being. So I know this person. He's incredibly gorgeous, a gorgeous man,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this gorgeous man started getting older
Mm-hmm.
and started losing his looks.
Mm.
And he shared, or I heard him share, that he didn't know why, but he started having panic attacks during public speaking. Had no idea why. I did not coach this man, but here's my educated guess.
Yes.
For if that person decided that at this stage in life he wanted to be free to continue speaking about his work publicly,
Mm-hmm.
he would have to give up the investment in the identity that derived all of its legs from the physical, from the looks.
Yes.
But if he were to give up identifying with that, he would have had to challenge not only what was challenging him and hard for him in the present, he would have had to sort of, looking back, saying, oh, maybe that was never who I was.
Yes.
Maybe these people looked at me this way because, of this added extra layer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was something I was not, hiding, or because I had this very powerful front, right? Or
Yes.
he would have. So for him to sit in front of the audience and be okay with his beautiful aging body,
Mm-hmm.
and and not freak out, right? He would have had to give up what he's been holding on as a good thing his whole life.
His whole life, yes.
And that's, for this person, would have been a version of ego death.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in that moment, he would be able to, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, meaning you could still say, look at this picture. I used to be so good looking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then look at your wrinkles and say, oh my gosh, but this is beautiful too.
Yes.
And that's not me. And this is not me. It's just a body that I get to inhabit.
That's right.
And, my guess, his panic attacks would have gone away had he done this inner work. And he would have had another 20 years, right, of doing what he loves to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my mother about this, just as an example, because I was, I talk about this all the time, not about this person, but about identity.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, Anya, do you know how many of my friends who were really beautiful, like physically beautiful during their prime years are having exactly the same issue?
Oh, wow.
Because they're so identified.
Yes.
And for somebody like me, I always had like a lazy eye and like it doesn't matter. I actually like myself better than that, when I'm aging, because
I do too. I have found that.
It was never I don't want to not look good, but it was never that big part of my personal identity.
Mm-hmm.
I never relied on that. Now, I did rely on pleasing people and being very good at it. Mm-hmm. So when I started trying to have a life that I wanted, and I had to start saying no, I wasn't just saying no to energy drainers and codependence. I was saying no to a part of me that I actually thought was really cool, that I was a savior, right?
Yeah, yes.
I was a rescuer, saver, helper.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, so what are you saying? Like, who am I now? Like, I can't do what I've been so good at doing.
Yeah.
So
what was the most difficult part of that?
I think that it was disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just like where before I knew exactly what tool to use. I knew exactly what to go for.
Yeah.
And I had to sit, just like we talked about, in the discomfort and not fix it. And then risk not only my own discomfort, but as you know, for a lot of people who are people pleasers and codependents, and it's the risking the imagination about their discomfort and their suffering. It's like what do you mean?
Yes.
I have to sit here and like allow them to be upset?
No. I can't do that. No.
Right.
I've had to learn. Yes. I've had to learn that.
So that was the hardest part. And risking and losing the perception people had of me because I didn't realize how much stock I had invested in being this person that was just like helpful to everybody.
Yeah.
And, just so people are not scared, you get it back. But like I said, you get it back on your own terms.
That's right.
But you do. Yeah.
And learning those boundaries. Like you said, you get it back on your own terms and you learn how to set healthy boundaries.
Yes, absolutely. And then you, like, whatever you agree to or don't agree to comes from your own alignment and your integrity, not from borrowing a sense of self or a feeling from the outside world. This is like the biggest sign of identity. Like I said, identity doesn't show itself. You don't actually know what you're thinking. Like if I ask you, like, who are you? The stuff you tell me is going to be like the fluff on top. It's not the core. But the telltale sign, like the little red flags or the ripples that on the surface of the water that appear, that tell me that there's a conditioned sense of self at play here, is if I am using something on the outside like a drug, like a dependency, right? If I cannot be or feel something on my own without the participation of that thing on the outside, like when I wrote the book, for example, I had a lot of, we call them, Will and I used to call them rings of fire, like a Johnny Cash song, but like, you know, yes. Like the, and that year I told you when I drove DoorDash, and I felt like nobody was hearing me and nobody was. And then I had a little identity crisis, like I had to do more work, and I realized that I was really invested in being seen and affirmed and like recognized or embraced for these ideas, or as a teacher, or as an author.
Yes.
And my mind said, of course you wrote a book, you want people to read it. Like, so I was arguing for that limitation. But as soon as I gave it up and I said, it doesn't matter if anybody's listening to me right now. I am this teacher, or I am this author, or I am a person who brings love to people, or whatever it is, right? Once I said, I'm okay with that, and I will be in that energy, the next McDonald's hamburger I deliver, the next person I interact with, I don't need them to have read my book. I can still love them.
Yes.
Once I started doing that, that's when things shifted. And I told you about that story about TikTok. And that's what people have a hard time believing, is that they're so afraid to give up their old management, right? Like, or the requirement for the outside to act first. Like, you give me that first, then I will shine, or then I'd be at peace. But if you can just trust that if you come into this place on your own independently without any guarantees, your life was going to mirror back to you so powerfully, this alignment.
Okay, so to someone who is completely new to spirituality or this healing process, this healing journey, what is one practical exercise that you would tell them to start with?
Well, I want to say something about spirituality first. Don't think too hard about it, number one. Like, and to me, spirituality just means connection of all things, and me being connected to all things. All the problems start when I feel separated, right? When I feel separated from whatever I call it, God, universe, another human being, nature, you know. So just know that you don't have to do anything special to be spiritual.
Yeah.
It's just an awareness, right? That you can allow to come through.
Yeah.
And it's an exploration. It's where we give up the separation little by little. Give up that place where we, separate ourselves from our own heart, our experience, our children, our world, and so on. So that's how I see spirituality. Like your presence, right? Your presence in your life, drinking a cup of coffee or a cup of water, just going out to watch the sunset, is a spiritual experience, so like that's one thing. And if I were to give somebody an exercise, I would say take 20 minutes a day to go for a walk and let your mind wander. just don't like force thinking about anything, and just watch for different things occurring to you. Don't try to figure it out. Just be, right? To me, that's like, it's such a powerful practice. I go for a walk every morning for almost like an hour and a half. Like, it's the best thing I do for absolutely everything.
Yes.
But if somebody wanted to take it a step further, I like, Byron Katie?
Mm-mm.
So Byron Katie is also a spiritual teacher, and she created this method called the work. But I'll give you the simplified version of it. It's actually a super simple process, but she has on her website, she's got absolutely free materials and worksheets, and it's like, learning to question your own thinking. But if somebody was to write down the most painful thought they have, I'm good for nothing, nothing good will ever happen to me, right? Find 3 ways that this thought is actually not true, and just write them down. Learning how to question what we perceive as reality is also learning how to loosen our mind's attention grip on thoughts that limit us. And you will see it, like you will say, my mother never loved me. Is it really true? In what way was it not true? Well, she went to work and brought home this and that. She did this when I was sick. Well, she had me. She didn't kill me. I don't know.
She loved you a little, at least.
She liked it a little bit, right? But then suddenly you're like, oh, maybe I have never really appreciated her pain and suffering. Like that could open you up to so much.
You are so right.
So just loosening that tooth a little bit, that would be a great exercise, right?
I love that exercise. Going back real quick, you mentioned connection to oneness. Like, what is oneness? How do you explain that?
Okay, so I've actually already explained it as spirituality. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's what I thought of the question whenever you said that. So,
but if you wanted to say, so this is not a scientific explanation, right? It's how we sort of point to this. To me, it's like the soup of all possibilities.
Yeah.
Everything connected all at once. Forms, like, meaning when I say forms, things that have definition, including thoughts, ideas, thoughts, bodies, objects, systems, things that we've created, and the stuff that is raw material, like where it all comes from, that creative energy behind life. Some people call it God or whatever. And so that's to me is a concept of oneness, like everything all at once. Now, the experience of oneness is the experience that one has when they connect to that place inside. And the way I experience it, so I don't obviously leave my body, but there is a way to get to this awareness and get there at will. Now, at first, we might experience this oneness and bliss. Some people like eat mushrooms, some people fall in love, like there are different ways of disconnecting from identifying with forms, right? Because, but instead identifying with that witness, which that part of you, the observer. In my experience, it's always connected to one. It's like there's an open door.
Yes.
By the way, that's where the identity work comes in, like identity sort of like shuts it down a bit and like makes
Mm-hmm.
you cook in your own juices. But the identity work moves that thought out of the way, and suddenly there's an opening,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly you are formless, experiencing form.
Mm.
And it's this really beautiful, light, connected feeling. And in that state, even the body that needs defending, you're not identified with that. You're not identified with your mind. You're not identified with your nationality, with your gender, with your ideas. You still hold them as important, but it doesn't even occur to you to go and hurt another human being in defense of any of that, unless somebody's actually
Yes.
coming at you in this very moment with like an
Yes.
axe, right? And and you're just blissful, and you have this peaceful feeling. You have access to like a free flow of ideas, and it feels like love. It's love.
Yes. It is pure love.
Yeah,
I know. I love your shirt.
it's love.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and to me, that's like you get to be a human. You don't have to disconnect from that,
Yeah.
and kind of God at the same time. Like you are
Yes.
divine in human form, whereas before it's like one or the other, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's sort of returning back to one of my main questions is, how do you do both,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that the reason when we can't is because we are identified with what can be threatened by the world. For example, if I
Mm.
hold on to an idea of myself that is dependent on the world to behave a certain way to keep this idea safe, it not only keeps me trapped, because that's not my natural state to be limited by a box of an idea, but it also puts me in a dependent relationship with my world. I always have to negotiate, and I always have to be afraid, because this idea of my that I think is myself can always be destroyed. But when I don't identify with anything that can be destroyed, or like the beauty, right, that can fade, or then I am completely free to have a full experience of life through this human body. So that's identity work, is to bring those two together and see that they're not in conflict at all. It's the identification that's the problem, with what can be hurt or destroyed.
That is beautiful. I cannot wait to read your book. This conversation has been absolutely incredible and so
Oh,
enlightening. So thank you so much for joining
I
me and sharing. Um, Tell us how we can find you.
I am on. So the book, you can get it on my website, or
Mm-hmm.
you could get it on Amazon. You could get it on
Mm-hmm.
Audible. It's called I Am, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Anya Lincoln. I have a website called anyalincoln.com, which
Mm-hmm.
is very easy. You can find information about the book. I am putting together a life coach training that is based on identity work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's also information about like coaching with Will, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I refer people to him. He also practices identity work. Uh, he was like at the first person that was like, oh, this makes so much sense, and
Mm-hmm.
he's getting really good results. So that my website is a good place. I'm also on Instagram, also the same thing, Anya Lincoln, and on TikTok, where I give a ton of free advice and I teach
Mm-hmm.
because I sell my book there. Let me remember. I have a weird handle. It's I am love oneness.
Mm.
So that's the handle. But if you type my name, you'll find it. I have two accounts, but the big one is the one that I I post on most. So
Perfect. And I
yeah,
will link everything in the description. So it'll be
okay,
right
great.
there. Yes.
Awesome.
So again, I want to say a big thank you, Anya. And remember, for those listening, you are not alone on this journey and you're exactly where you're meant to be. Wow, what a powerful, heart-opening conversation with Anya Lincoln. I am so grateful that she shared her wisdom on love, awakening, and how we can interrupt the patterns that keep us stuck. If today's episode spoke to you, I encourage you to check out her book, I Am. It's such a beautiful resource for anyone ready to step into a deep transformation and begin reshaping the reality from inside out. You can connect with Anya through the links in the show notes. And if this episode resonated, please take a moment to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. That's how we spread this message of healing and transformation to more people who need it. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep growing, keep awakening, and know that you are not alone on this journey.